You're watching the Odessa City Council Districts 1, 2, and at-large debates.
Good evening and welcome to Basin PBS, where we are coming to you live from the Anwar Family Studio. I'm Becky Ferguson, and on behalf of Basin PBS, thank you for joining us tonight. We are honored to host the Odessa City Council Districts 1, 2, and at-large debates this evening. Basin PBS is known for its quality programming, where we provide not only education, but entertainment as well. Tonight's program is a culmination of our mission to educate and inform, and we are thrilled to have a small studio audience and have all of you, our Basin PBS supporters, watching at home on channel 13 or 36, or live on our Facebook page or YouTube channel. Plus, we are also running live on KWWT, My Network TV. Joining me tonight at the moderator's desk is Mary Kate Hamilton with First Alert 7. Mary Kate?
Thank you so much, Becky. Tonight's format is a bit different. The show will consist of 3 segments. Each segment is approximately 27 minutes in length, and we will have a 2-minute break in between where we switch out the candidates. Candidates who are not on air but have been waiting for their segment have been sequestered as to not hear any of the questions. Our questions were developed by our team of moderators, a small representation from the community, and our Facebook page, where our community will be given the opportunity to submit questions. Due to the time constraint, we will only read the rules once, but all candidates have received the rules in advance, so all are familiar with tonight's format. The debate will begin with each candidate in order of how they're listed on the ballot, with 2 minutes for their opening remarks. After these opening remarks, the moderators will pose a series of general questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. In the event a candidate's answer to a question invokes the name or policy position of one or more opponents, the moderators, at our sole discretion, will give the referenced candidates 30 seconds to respond. It is important to note an individual candidate may also be asked a direct question because of a statement or policy position he or she has made during their campaign. The candidate will have 1 minute to answer that direct question. The 30-second rebuttal rule will still apply. At the conclusion of the questions, each candidate will be given 2 minutes, time permitting, for closing statements. You do not have to use all the time, but you are encouraged to do so, as this is your time to let your constituents know your stance on policies. This is a live broadcast, so flash photography, loud noises, or other disruptive actions or comments are not allowed. Now, let's get started and meet our candidates for Odessa City Council, District 1, Mr. Eddie Mitchell.
How you doing? Good evening.
And Mr. Mark Mata.
Hello there.
We will now begin with opening statements. I'd like to remind the candidates you each have 2 minutes. Mr. Mitchell, your opening statement.
First of all, we'd like to thank Basin PBS for inviting us so that we can get the situation out there so we know what we need to do. I'd like to thank these young ladies, Becky and Mary Kate. I'd like to thank the audience, my family, especially my wife and my son and daughter, and my new grandbaby. I'm here because I've been in my district 25 years, and I've never seen anything happen. I'm a taxpayer. I'm an owner of a small business. City of Odessa isn't doing anything for my district. Now, I live on the south side, and I think we need to do something for District 1 and the south side. The south side is where the Interstate 20 corridor runs through, and Odessa doesn't look good right there. We need to beautify that situation where we can bring more people into the city of Odessa. If we bring more people into the city, they'll go downtown where we can help rebuild the city. I'm for small businesses. I'm for correcting downtown. We don't need to let it become a ghost city. We're too big for that. So I'm for that. And like I said, I've been in the same house 25 years, and I haven't seen anything come to my neighborhood. Not just my neighborhood, my district. So I'm here to try to improve that. The city of Odessa, I'm trying to improve. The employees, I hear a lot from them. The trash, the water. We're too big of a community to be in the situation we're in. We are in the oil field business. We should look, our streets should be paved with gold. And that's what we're trying to do. We want to make it a great city to be. I want to make it where people come to Odessa and visit us and enjoy their weekend.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Mata, your opening statement.
Well, hello, my name is Mark Mata, and I was elected to City Council back in 2020. It's been an honor to serve for these past 4 years. First of all, I want to give all the glory and the praise to Father God, who guides me and gives me all the wisdom that I need. Secondly, I want to give a huge thanks to my wife, who's out in the audience right now. Her name's Amy. You know, serving as a council member, it opens us up to a lot of public scrutiny, and we get attacked by those who just don't agree with what we're doing. Amy has been the rock in my support through the thick and thin, all the ups and downs that have been made public. I just got to say that God has truly blessed me with a wonderful wife. One of the biggest issues that we have faced was the failing and neglected infrastructure that was ignored by our predecessors for decades. You know, we're not kicking that can down the road anymore like councils did in the past. We've taken great strides addressing the infrastructure in just the past 22 years since getting a conservative council. We've allocated $25 million to identify and repair valves that were over 40 years old. We've committed over $160 million for our water, our sewer, and our trash. Nearly $13 million has been allocated for District 1. That's the most money that has ever been allocated in that district in the city's history. All of this while lowering your tax rate to the lowest rate in 10 years. You know, our water treatment plant is about 90% complete and will be fully completed in the first quarter of 2025. My opponents teamed up with other opponents to represent the elite that have been in power over Odessa for decades. The exact same elites that put Odessa in this sad state that we're currently in right now, that we inherited. For the first time in years, Odessa is on the right track.
Mata.
Okay, now
Mr. Mitchell, your name was brought up specifically, if you would like a chance to rebut.
Well, I can say this. When you first got into office, they should have did something about the water situation then. You should have jumped right on it. You knew we had a problem, but you sit back and let it happen. Then it cost the city extra money because overtime and this and that. Don't wait till the problem happens. You already know the problem is there. Tax rate, well, that's an up and down situation. I don't want to get into all that right now. But if you know there's a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to begin our first questions, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Mata, and it is on the topic of water. It's one of the most important issues in this election. In the last 3 years, the entire city of Odessa has been left completely without water for at least 24 hours on 2 different occasions. In those years, many neighborhoods have been left without water or under a boil water notice countless times. How can the city finally address this water crisis in Odessa?
You know, you're exactly right. Back in 2022, when we had that water outage for 2 or 3 days, we had oil companies come up to us and offer their services so we could get that water main fixed in record time. Unfortunately, the leadership, the city manager that we had back then, didn't allow that. He had his own plan. But we have taken great steps. As I said in my opening statement, we've allocated money that we've from the zero-based budget that we've implemented in our city, where we've been able to save money, where we can now start doing this. Like I said, you know, we're allocating $25 million to repair valves. We're allocating $160 million to address the water and the road situation and the breaking pipes that keep happening all the time. We've also implemented, because that's going to be a task that's going to take years. It's not going to be a quick fix. But we've also implemented new programs to help mitigate those breaks whenever they happen, where we're seeing now where they're taking about 3 or 4 hours average time to fix, which has never done in the past.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, the same question.
Well, as I say, if you know you got a problem, let's put the Band-Aid on it so that we can cut all that extra money. That was a lot of extra money to spend in getting parts and hiring extra people. I'm just saying, if you know it's a problem, get it solved. I know a water leak right now by my house. It's been leaking all week. It's such a bad leak. The tractor's still there. Let's get that solved. Those people living in that neighborhood there, they haven't had water. It's leaking every day. And you know what the problem is? You can't call nobody downtown. Everybody put you on another line. When I'm city council, I want you to be able to call me. You understand? I'm not gonna hang the phone up. You may not like what I got to say, but I'm gonna answer your question, and we're gonna get that problem solved, and we're gonna jump on it. We're not gonna let it keep going, okay? So if you know it's a problem, let's get in there and solve it. Let's not get in there and try to clear the city manager and everybody out. Because one thing, we got a lot of lawsuits behind that.
Thank you very much. In the last 7 months, the city lost nearly its entire finance department. The city of Odessa has also recently lost its bond ratings due to the city's audits not being properly completed, and that does risk higher borrowing costs. What role can the city council play in ensuring that your voters' money is used wisely and efficiently, and how would you try to ensure that? Mr. Mitchell, we're going to start with you.
Well, that's one of my biggest, and that's one good thing about being a businessman. You know how to watch that money down to the penny. We need to get in there and make sure, you say you lost a lot of people. Well, that's because you started letting people go from the get-go. Now, all the people that's been there 12, 13, 14 years, they don't have nobody to work with. Those people that we let go, they trusted those people. Now we're losing supervisors, head of departments. That's going to look ugly in a year if we don't start, as I say, put a Band-Aid on the problem. Go back to putting that Band-Aid on the problem. We got to keep somebody up there that knows how to run city management. You got to have some kind of experience in city management in order to run a city. So I believe me and my friends, that's what we have to get somebody in there that can run the city and keep people there.
And Mr. Mata.
I'm glad you brought that up about the Band-Aids. I'm wearing a Band-Aid right now. I have a blister. But because of that Band-Aid, it's a temporary fix. Once it falls off, it falls off. It's not a permanent fix. What we're looking for are permanent fixes. For years, we had slush funds where we had money allocated to certain areas that was never being used, so we couldn't address the issues that are at hand right now as far as the infrastructure. We did replace quite a few people in our finance department, and tonight we have our director of our finance department here, and under her leadership, we have implemented so many new policies that have allowed the city to save countless millions of dollars to help fight these problems that we're having here. Sometimes we have to do those hard things, and we got to get rid of the problem that's at the city hall and bring in new people so we can have fresh new ideas. And as we're seeing right now, we have a surplus. We're doing good. We're getting these problems fixed, so something's working.
Thank you.
There is seemingly a high turnover rate among the City of Odessa employees, with some of the firings even costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do you attribute that turnover rate to, and is that a positive or a negative for the city's operation? And we're going to start with you, Mr. Mata.
Sure, thank you. So right now, if you were to ask the city employees at City Hall, the majority of them are going to say they're happy working there. They love the new work environment that they have there. There's no more hostility. We have people who are doing a bang-up job there for us, and we did have to let go of some people in our city leadership, and it has been a turn for the better. We've seen things happening in the city of Odessa that we've never seen before. We did go through some hard times with that, but we're rather than above that, and now we have the city moving in the right direction for the first time in decades. So yes, sometimes we do have to make those hard decisions. As being a small business owner, I'm sure he knows about that. Making hard decisions are tough, but sometimes they're necessary. And it was a necessary decision to have to do. And so yeah, the turnover rate right now, if you look back at our OPD is almost fully employed already. We have our OFR who has the highest rate right now of tenureship.
Mr. Mitchell, same question.
Well, as I said, when you get rid of your city manager, and we've lost so many employees because they all trusted him. So when you start losing supervisors and blah, blah, you're just putting people in positions. A lot of them don't even know what's going on. They're just getting put in positions. And I know some people that have quit. They come in my restaurant. They come in there and eat, and they say, man, we got to do something about it. We want to be happy again. There's no happiness. And I am so sick of my trash being empty once a week. I'm a businessman. I fill that trash can up in 2 days. There should be no problem. After raising that rate twice, we should have no problem or no shortage in the garbage department. Garbage is a big deal in the city. I don't like to see it, but if you're killing your management, then the people that's been there another 15, 16 years, they quitting right along with them. So everybody we got in City Hall, they don't know nothing.
Thank you very much. We have a question from social media that we would like to get to. The question is, what is your vision for downtown renovation projects? Mr. Mitchell, we will start with you.
Well, I've been talking about that. I ran, and some of you know I ran 4 years ago. I want to make the interstate, Grant Street, I want to beautify it so people stop and come up. When President Trump come to Odessa, Texas, he had to come up that ugly Grant Street off the interstate. That is one of the ugliest sights for people our size of this city. That is just ugly. And I'm pretty sure Trump said something. So I want to beautify that. When you come into downtown Odessa, there's some things we need. I want to bring in a couple of family restaurants, steakhouse or some Italian or something. We need to build some new offices around now. You know, the Marriott is nice. We need to help make the Marriott look good and make all the down. And that's what I want to be. I want a park where we can have events down there, big enough to where everybody can come, not just 50 people. We want it where everybody can come down there and enjoy it.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Mata.
Yes, downtown has been a big part of District 1, and we've done some major changes down there. We partnered with Odessa College and donated that land and gave them $1 million for that OC park that's downtown that's open for the public. We've also implemented new strategies where we just recently, in the last council meeting, we just approved a new parking garage for our OPD that's going to be accessible to not only OPD but to the public. With the first floor, it's going to have some micro retail spaces to rent, so we can bring in those businesses that want to be in the downtown, but it's just too expensive for their rent. These are going to be a lot cheaper. They're going to be a lot less expensive. We're allowing these small businesses to come into downtown so they can attract people downtown. We're having First Fridays every month, the first Friday every month, and those are bringing down people. You know, we have $6 million for downtown. Instead of spending that in 2 blocks, we're spreading out throughout the whole downtown so we can make the whole downtown improved, not just 2 streets.
In the last year, the City Council has repealed the percentage for the arts program, barred the nonprofit downtown Odessa from using the hotel occupancy taxes, rejected funding towards a recycling center, and significantly cut fundings to programs like Meals on Wheels and the West Texas Food Bank. What are your areas of priority when it comes to city funding? And we'll start with you, Mr. Mata.
So yes, so as everyone has been talking about at this during this debate here, it's the infrastructure. That's been the biggest problem that we're facing. So yeah, we did repeal the 1% for the arts because we have bigger problems. I mean, art is great. I'm a musician. My sister's an artist. I come from a family of artists. My wife's uncle is an artist who sells his art. So we appreciate art. Sometimes you got to make those tough decisions where are we going to want to bring in a piece of art that's $1 million, or are we going to want to use that to fix some valves, fix a road, fix a line that's broken? We had to prioritize our money, and I think we've done that. You know, we recently got some flack for supposedly cutting the DOI, the downtown Odessa, but what we did is we just transferred the ownership. It's back now to a nonprofit like it should have been. And that money that we were giving to them was illegal. It shouldn't have been done. So we're doing things the right way.
Mr. Mitchell, same question.
Prioritizing. We cut the senior citizens' food. We cut some of their money. They don't get a lot of money. That Meals on Wheels is a great, great deal for senior citizens they can cook. And the thing is, here's what I want to do when I get on city council. When we want to do something like that, I think we need to involve the people and say, hey, look, we want to cut this money and move this money here. We don't need to do it and then surprise everybody. We want to let you know what we're doing. That way you can involve. If you don't believe in it, maybe we can go back and change it. But we don't need to cut money from everybody. Hey, I'm a big founder of downtown Odessa. I loved it when downtown Odessa was here to put the parade on and stuff. Now here we go. Letting somebody out of somewhere else take our money. We spending money and sending it somewhere else. We could have sent that money to Meals on Wheels. but we're paying people that don't even live here our money.
Thank you very much. I believe we have another social media question. And the question is, how do candidates feel about raising utility rates every year when the city cash balances are so high? Mr. Mitchell, I will start with you.
I don't like that. I don't like it. And many new homes that we're building on the north side of Odessa, why do we have to do that? That means Odessa is growing. That means we collecting more tax dollars. We collecting more store taxes, everything. We shouldn't have to raise that every year. And if you're raising it every year, then we need to find out where we're spending that money and make sure. For instance, the garbage. We don't have garbage trucks. We don't have decent garbage trucks. Of course, they had trouble with it years ago, but the way Odessa is growing, I really don't think we should be raising a lot of stuff. Let's get it all settled in, and then we'll see what we need to do, or we need to find other ways to bring that money in if we need money.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mata.
Yes, so I'm part of the residents also in District 1, and I, for one, don't like it whenever my trash and my water rates go up. Whenever our rates go up, it affects me also. And believe me, I'm not made out of money. As being in this position, my salary has gone down tremendously because it takes a lot of our time to do what we're doing here on the City Council, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I'll tell you this, as I mentioned in my opening statement, we have allocated over $170 million. That's coming out of our general fund. We have that balance in there right now. It's going to be dwindling really quickly. We know about the trash problem. We've ordered 18 trucks for our trash trucks. We have 9 that have come in that are in service now, and we have 2 coming in every month until the existing balance is full. So we've addressed that issue. You know, like I said, these problems that took years to get to us, it's not going to be an overnight fix, but we're fixing that problem as quickly as you can. That money's going to be dwindling really quickly.
A number of years ago, the city entered into a contract with Pioneer Natural Resources. The contract stated that the energy company would purchase recycled water from the city, and the city would use the proceeds to help fund upkeep and expansion of the city's water system. How effective has that been? Mr. Mata, starting with you.
Yes, that was one of the great programs that were started back in the day, and that has been helpful to us. We've used that money to implement new strategies in our water treatment plant. We use that money to help do the fixes that happen on our day-to-day operations in the city. For the first time in the council history, we reached out. We got an attorney to help us with these mineral rights programs. So we're now, for the first time ever in the city of Odessa's history, we're now receiving paychecks from the oil companies. As Mr. Mitchell said, we live in an oil-rich city. We should be getting money from them. We should be having our streets paved with gold. That's our first step in doing that, is receiving these royalty checks from these oil companies. And all that money is going right back into the city general fund so we can use that to fix these problems that are rising daily.
Mr. Mitchell, same question.
Well, I want to go off a little bit and say, see, we fired that city manager, then the problem started. That's the bottom line. We let the wrong people go at the wrong time. Then all of a sudden we started having water problems, which they've been around. Well, we got garbage problems. If we had kept management in there, maybe we wouldn't have as many problems as we have right now. I could be wrong, but I think if we just had kept our management and not surprised everybody and let the voters know what we're doing instead of trying to do this and this and this and that, we wouldn't have as many problems as we have. So it just boils down to the management. After we let that management go from the city, everything starts trickling. And I ain't talking about the water problem. There's a lot of problems in Odessa. And we got to solve this, because if we don't, I got to get my bags and move, man, because this is not going. Odessa, Texas is not going to be on the map. And it's ugly because, as I said.
Thank you very much. You both mentioned it, and similar to the water issues, Odessa's roads are suffering. Records show that the council budgeted $31.8 million for roads, and that the city spent about less than half of that, at $14.9 million going into Odessa's roads. Do you know why that is, and how would you work to improve Odessa infrastructure, Mr. Mitchell?
Well, we got to go in and budget ourselves. And and I talk to my wife all the time, we got to go in, we got to quit gluing rocks to the streets. We got to repave those streets sometime. You just can't keep packing and packing and packing. Sooner or later, you're going to have to repave that street. And if we had been doing that every year, we'd probably have the city, for the last 10, 12 years, we probably had a city of Odessa pretty much repaved by now. You know, so we need to, the streets are ugly too. That's one of the problems I have. But we got to get into that and say, hey, where's the money where we can do this? They cutting all these budgets. Where's the money at? You're cutting people's money. What are we doing with it? We don't see what you're doing with the money. Where's the money that you're cutting everything else out? Streets are a big problem. Trash and water.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mata.
Yes, let me clear up a big misconception about some of the roads here in Odessa. Some of the major roads that we have, like West County Road, 2nd Street, other arteries, 7 main roads, they're TxDOT roads. There's nothing that we can do about those. Those are beyond our control. The city can fix all the artery roads to those, but those main roads, we can't touch them. And to give some context about the $30 million there, let me give you how much money we spent on the Fodgy Road, on remaking that road, just widening that road. That road, it's a 2-mile stretch, and it costs $30 million to fix. So if we go along the same lines that Mr. Mitchell wants to do, all we can do is 2 miles of road each year. We'll never get to that point where we have all of our roads fixed. Sometimes we have to do these little gluing the rocks to the pavement, as he stated, because that's the most cost-effective way to do this. And it extends the life of those roads by up to 5 years. So that's just a conservative way to do it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It is now time for our closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing statement. And Mr. Mitchell, we will start with you.
Okay. If you're in your district, if you show your face in your district, you know what you need to fix. If you're not coming to your neighborhood and your district, then you don't know what to fix. If you're hanging out across town, you don't know what your district needs. And that's what I'm telling you, folks. I'm going to be in my district. Now, I'm going to help the city of Odessa, but I'm going to help my district too. So if you're in your district and the people see you, you know what's going on in your neighborhood. But you got to show your face. If you ain't that, don't nobody know you. You can't be over there on Fodry and everywhere else. Come over there on Dixie and 2nd, Grand. Come over there on Grandview, where your district is at. And then you'll see what you need. And that's what you fight for. Places like Fodry, 191, they're going to take care of themselves. Those neighborhoods are going to take care of themselves. District 1 is still part of the city of Odessa. And I'm just telling you, folks, if you want somebody that's going to fight for your downtown, for your District 1, I'm the guy you want. We're going to try to get this water problem fixed. We're going to get the garbage problem. If I got to get out there and drive a garbage truck myself, I used to drive a garbage truck. I can help. Let's get it taken care of. We don't need to let's let it keep building up. But I'm just telling you, if you want me, if you call me, I'm going to answer the phone. And we're going to find out the problem. I'm going to get with the rest of the city council. And I want to say this. I don't want you to think that I didn't know 2nd Street and West County Road is a state highway. That's why the city council's got to be friends with your Texas state senators and stuff. Say, look, send us some of that money. We got to get our roads fixed. You got voters in this area. Let's get them roads fixed. But I'm just telling you, folks, Eddie Mitchell is the one you want. And I'm not going to hide. And I'm not going to take care of District 3.
Thank you very much. And your closing statement, Mr.
Awesome.
Mata.
Let me just start off by just addressing one thing real quick here. For the first time ever, we've allocated more money to District 1. So I just want to point that out there. But I also want to thank you, Laura, Laura Wolf, the moderators, and everyone that worked so hard to organize this PBS forum. It's so beneficial for the voters to have the opportunities to listen to all of us. You know, serving as a District 1 councilman for the past 4 years has been such a blessing, and it's been so rewarding to serve the people. I've been a citizen of Odessa for 48 years, and 24 of those in District 1. So I have a strong desire to see this great city grow and prosper and leave the younger generations, like my children and their children's children, a strong foundation with a strong infrastructure that can support future growth here. Working to improve the quality of life, for me, has been a personal issue. It's been one of my top priorities. And projects like the state-of-the-art complex that's coming will be the crown jewel of Odessa, attracting huge tournaments, bringing an influx of sales tax revenue, all while improving the quality of life for our children and families of Odessa. And that sales tax revenue, that's going to help us increase the money that we can spend to improve the infrastructure. Also, we're bringing in huge retail anchors, such as the Bass Pro Shops. It's just the beginning. Anchors will bring in more restaurants, retail, making that area a destination attraction. And there's many improvements in District 1 coming. There's been improvements in Comanche Trail Park. We're finally addressing the pond that's been leaking for years. We've added lights to McKinney Park, making it safer. Salinas Park has lights, a new walking trail, a basketball court, but that's just the tip of the iceberg for District 1. Future projects, such as the downtown high-rise that's coming, that's going to have shopping on the first floor, and restaurants, housing in the above floors, entertainment. We have it, oh darn.
Thank you very much. Thank you to both of our Odessa City Council District 1 candidates. We do need to take a short station break, but when we come back, we'll hear from Odessa City Council District 2 candidates. Welcome back. We are coming to you live from Basin PBS in the Anwar Family Studio. I'd like to remind our candidates that the rules, as mentioned at the beginning of our program, still apply. We will now meet our Odessa City Council District 2 candidates, Mr. Stephen Thompson. Hello. And Mrs. Nayeli Urias. Hello. We will now begin with opening statements. I'd like to remind the candidates that each will have 2 minutes. Mr. Thompson, your opening statement.
Thank you for having us tonight, Mary Kate and Becky, and to the people at PBS. Appreciate so much the opportunity to be here and go through what we've done in the last 4 years. As I've said on City Council, it's been a long 4 years, but short 4 years at the same time. There's so much to get done. We've had a good run. There's been some terrible controversies, which I've been pretty much on the other side of along the way. However, I feel like I've been the voice of reason for the city of Odessa and trying to get things done in a logical, orderly manner. I feel like that great strides have been made, still have a lot more to do. We're growing very fast and very proud of the fact that Odessa is finally enjoying some good growth. I was born and raised in Odessa, went to all my life, and graduated from Permian High School, went to Odessa College, graduated Texas Tech University, and it had a business in Odessa for 40 years. So I've been a part of the community, and I was also president of the original hospital district board for 6 years back in 91 to 96. So anyway, I have a lot of experience there, and just trying to give back more to my city. I've got time, I'm retired, and I'm enjoying being engaged in what we're doing.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Urias, your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nayeli Urias. I'd like to thank Basin PBS and the staffing for putting this event together. Odessa has been my home for 26 years. I lived in District 2 the last 7 years. 6 years ago, when my husband unexpectedly died of cancer, I was left alone with the challenge to run a business and raise my children. By God's grace, I've been able to be successful as both, as a mom and a business owner. I know how to get things done while living within a budget, and I want to use my skills that I know to help the city that I love and call home. The reason why I'm running, I have a great concern for issues that affect me and my community. Taxpayers deserve a council that knows where the money is spent. I've decided to stop waiting for somebody to lead and start leading. I want to be a council member who listens to everybody's perspective, who finds solutions, and is transparent. I want to use my skills to bring any new ideas and skill sets to the community. I will spend working hours focusing on serving my district and making our community a better place to live. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to our first question, and I'm going to start with you, Mrs. Urias. Water is one of the most important issues of this election. In the last 3 years, the entire city of Odessa has been left completely without water for at least 24 hours, 2 times. In those years, many neighborhoods have been left without water or under boil water notices countless times. How can the city finally address the water crisis in Odessa?
And I agree, and it's a good question. It's a very important question, because it involves not just my district, but the community. There's been a lot of inconsistency. The Odessans deserve a council that is going to work for them, that understands how their money is paid again, how it's used, and prioritize. From what I understand, the city has more than adequate money sitting there, over $350 million in general funds, and $100 million in just unspent bond proceeds. And with that being said, I feel like we need to take more approach, more leadership, and make sure that we're more proactive and make sure that this doesn't happen again. And that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson, the water issue.
Water issue is a big one, and that's the issue I came on the council with. Previous council had passed $100 million of certificates of obligation, and the council people, the mayor and 2 other council people that were there elected at the same time, were vehemently against us using that money to fix the water treatment plant. They wanted to have it go back to the public and have a vote. This all happened in December of 2020. The problem with that is that the plant was on its last leg at that time. And so through a long, arduous process, the people that were against that tried to go out by hook and crook and try to get signatures to get that water plant money on a bond to fix it. We already had the $100 million sitting there from the previous COs.
Thank you. The city of Odessa recently lost its bond ratings due to the city's audits not being properly completed. That risks, higher borrowing costs. And in the last 7 months, the city lost nearly its entire finance department. What role does the City Council play in ensuring that voters' money is used wisely and efficiently? Mr. Thompson, we're going to start with you.
It's a good question. Been a lot of turnover at City Hall, and that goes from the top down. A lot of those decisions I found out about after the fact. In fact, for the last year and a half, I've been the only one screaming about those audits, and I knew this day was coming. I've asked the current city manager and staff time and time again. Of course, they blame it on the previous staff that the accounting was a shambles, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I know the people in that accounting department prior to this new council taking over. So I don't believe that for a second. I'm not an accountant, but I know things were done timely, and that's out on the back burner. We still don't have the 2023 audit done yet, and that's a concern. And like I say, I've been screaming about it. I've not seen a financial balance sheet or income statement.
Thank you. And Mrs. Urias.
That is a good question, too, and it's new because I'm new at this, so I'm having to learn pretty fast. But one thing I can say about this to avoid this, even though I'm uncertain of using the zero-based budgeting, I believe it would be a good thing to use it. Based on the studies, going that way, it would save the city between 10 to 20% if it's done correctly. In the city's past budget, it skyrocketed to $28 million, which is 10%. And only a small amount, which is 5%, was used to repair and replace the infrastructure problems and equipment. Me going in there, I would implement it or come up with a solution to have a better budgeting for our city to where we can use it and prioritize and attack the main concerns and the main issues that we have right now. So for me, it's understanding the budget.
We have a Facebook question. What skills do you have that make you qualified to hold office? We're going to begin with you, Mrs. Urias.
Thank you. I'm a business owner. I deal in and out every day with customers. I handle contracts as well. So it is important that I'm here to represent the district, that I'm here to voice out and make the right decisions. I have a plan in mind. I want to make sure that if I go in there, that I'm prioritizing, that I'm identifying and find out and also find a solution within the budget and the resources that we have available. I want to make sure that I'm accessible to everybody, all my district especially, that I can communicate with them and they can communicate with me and make sure that any issues that they have, that I'm able to address or at least be their voice so that we can get them resolved within a timely manner and we don't have the issues that we're having right now. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson.
Well, I just believe that, you know, with my experience of being a business owner for 40 years and having a staff of employees that whole time, making payroll taxes, making property taxes, et cetera, and just being a part of the community, I think that and having a successful company, which my son has purchased from me about 10, 12 years ago, I feel like that success gives me the opportunity to learn how to watch with the finances and also with people and judging qualities of people and trying to find out, you know, where we can do things better than what we were doing before to make us grow and to be successful.
Thank you.
You both have mentioned transparency tonight, and that voters deserve to know where their money is going. And there's also possibly an issue of transparency among the city council as well. How, if elected, can you improve transparency among your colleagues and among your constituents? Mr. Thompson, I'm going to start with you.
Well, first of all, it starts with communication. And as I said in my opening statement, there's been a lot of decisions made that I found out about after they were done. I was informed this is the way it's going to be. And because I was in a minority position, there wasn't much I could do about it, and things were already set into motion. And, you know, transparency is important. Ms. Urias' comment about having $350 million, it takes $300 million a year to run the city of Odessa. and it takes, 6 months of reserves is about $140 million. So, we have to keep those reserves high to get the bond ratings you need in case we have to go for debt of some kind. Nobody likes debt. Sometimes it cannot be avoided. And so back to the water treatment plant, have we waited and taken that bond issue, taken that issue to the bond people, instead of just now finishing the plant, we would just now be starting the plant, and that's huge.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Urias.
I do like to answer that question when he said about the reserves.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not too familiar with it, but I do know that there is a certain percentage that is only required to keep in that balance and is very minimal compared to the high amount that they kept in reserves. So that right there is not being transparent, or he's not paying attention to the budget,
Thank you.
the balance.
And you will have another minute to answer how you can increase transparency with your constituents and your colleagues.
And again, and I have to agree on this one with him. It is true, communication. Communication is going to be the key to work as a group together. We need to, if I go in there, we have to be communicating and be on this. We don't have to vote. We're going in there independent individually. We're voting individually. But as a whole, we're still a group, and we need to remain and work together as a group to be able to, service our community. So transparency, it is very important. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I believe you get a rebuttal, Mr.
Thank you.
Thompson.
I was hoping you'd say that big. Thank you. Just for everybody's information, 3 months is considered the proper reserves for a city to have. However, I'm a conservative, and I think that a city our size, with the growth we're experiencing, that's not enough. I think the 6 months is more of a adequate number. That's something we're going to work through, with bond counsel, because we have to get those bond ratings. We have been temporarily reinstated, but they're not, until we get a 2023 budget done, it's not going to be final.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Audit, sorry.
Okay, like the water issue, Odessa's roads are crumbling. The city records show that the council budgeted $31 million for the roads, but they spent less than half of that, $14.9 million. Do you know why that is and how you would work to improve the Odessa infrastructure, Mrs. Urias?
Thank you. I don't know that I know why they haven't started fixing it. I know from what I've been reading, there's a lot of improvements already happening. There's a lot of them already on schedule. And for the future, there's already a budget in there for those roads. But what we can do, me coming in there, we're gonna have to make sure that we budget to where we're ensuring that our roads are safer for our fast and continued growth that we're experiencing, especially on the east side of town, my district. It's, we're experiencing high growth. So that's one of the things that we're gonna have to make sure that we include it. But again, it's all gonna have to be in the budget regardless. I don't know the balance that was used or how they budgeted for this last one, but me going in there, we would have to make sure that we have incorporate some kind of a budget to make sure that we address the issues with the roads.
Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Yes, roads are very important. They're near and dear to my heart. I sit on the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Odessa and Midland. And while this is an Odessa problem, I got great big pushback when I voted and pushed real hard to get Faudree extended up to the Parks Bell Ranch development. There's 5,000 people living out there already, and another 5,000 homes being built as we speak. We're putting a sports complex up there, and the next road that needs to be done is Yukon. I've been pushing for roads for 4 years, and why that money has not been spent, I have never gotten a good answer. However, here at the last part of my term in office, we are getting ready to redo. We're going to do Yukon, and we're going to do the road behind where the new Bass Pro Shops is going to go, and repairing a bunch of the roads. Dorado Avenue down there in front of those doctor's offices is a mess. So those are all being designed now. 56th Street from Billy Hex to Faudree is already designed. I've been screaming about that road for 4 years.
Thank you very much. We have a question from social media, and we have already touched on turnover rate amongst employees, but what will you do to give current employees an ability to have a voice in what happens in their organization and an ability to communicate directly to council on issues? Mr. Thompson, we'll start with you.
Thank you. But if you look at the council handbook, one of the things it says is that a council person should not, or the mayor should not, any elected official should not walk in on a meeting of the city manager and staff, or any staff meeting. That is a strong, big no-no, because that intimidates staff. What I believe you need to do is make yourself available to staff and know that you're approachable and that you'll sit down and talk to any of them. Our job as a city council is to set policy, not to manage people. However, there's a lot of council people that stay involved in daily activities with trying to manage department heads or influence department heads, which I think is extremely wrong. Now, that's what I understood when I took the job, that my job was to set policies, budgets, and priorities, not to manage people. We have a city manager that does that.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Urias.
And again, I'm new at this, so some of the stuff I might not know on the policies when it comes to the employees, but again, being a business owner, I do deal with employees at all times. The role as a council member, I believe we do have the decision for that as well. I'm not sure how, but I know for sure that there's a contract that it was signed by the council members to give raises to this for employees. And it was signed, so we are involved, which put the city, or the taxpayers in a situation where if they leave, we still have to pay for them. So, and it's in contract. And to me, I feel like we need to be more cautious. And when I wear anything that we sign, that we know what we're signing first before we commit with any contract.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, you'll have 30 seconds to review.
Thank you. Those 4 people that she's referencing are not employees. They are appointees of the council. And they're the only 4 people that are responsible to us. We evaluate their performance, and we set their salaries. And the reference, she's talking about contracts. I was in business for 40 years, and when I got a contract I needed to get executed, I gave it to my lawyer and my accountants, got their advice, took their advice, and did what I needed to get done. Those contracts were not properly addressed in the meeting.
Okay, in your mind, what is the single most pressing issue right now in the city council race? Ms. Urias?
Again, it's going to be the infrastructure for sure. That one, without water, we've had, last shutdown we had, not only does it affect the whole community, it affects the businesses, it affects the style and way of life for us. We can't even go out and purchase food because everybody's shut down. We're on either that or boil alert. So the infrastructure on the water, it has to be one of the priorities that I would want to focus on going into the office. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson?
Everybody's going to agree on water, and we've been working on that really hard. One of the other things we have to do with water is we have to get a new water storage tank up in the northeast, which has been planned for a long time, and it's got to get done with all the growth up that way. Like I said a minute ago, there's another 5,000 homes up at Parks Bell being developed, and down at Ratliff, in front of Ratliff Ranch and Lico properties, there's another 2,000 homes going in right now. And then there's another piece of property across the street from Grandview, which will be another 500 homes. So we've got to have the water pressure, the towers to store it, and then fix what is old. You got to remember this city's, I'm almost as old as this city is, by the way. Anyway, so it's been in the ground a long, long time. We're replacing Crane Avenue right now. Those pipes were put down cast iron in 1939. I'm not quite that old.
Thank you very much. There are 3 council seats up for re-election in this election cycle, and the Odessa mayor seat is also up for re-election. How confident are you in your abilities to work with someone you may not agree with, and can you explain? I'll start with you, Mr. Thompson.
I got lots of practice the last 4 years. So anyway, it's been tough. The first 2 years, we had 3 other people on the council that were reasonable. You could work with them, even though you may disagree. When the council changed in 2022, things got very contentious. They were personal, they were nasty, they were ugly. There was no place in politics for that. And that's when a lot of things got done behind closed doors, and nobody will ever convince me otherwise of that. I watched it. Even though I didn't know what was going on, I knew when actions were taken, it was predetermined. So it's difficult, but to answer your question directly, in 2022, when that change happened, I told my lovely wife, I said, I'm not going to fight them. I'm just going to try to get along. When I disagree, I'm going to vote no, state my reason, and move on.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Urias.
Thank you. The same way, we're not always going to agree, and that's what we're here. We're here to be independent, and we're going to be voting, and there's going to be disagreements, and that's what we're here, because we're not always going to be agreeing on everything. But I do want to be a team player. I do want to be able to be accessible to my own group and be able to communicate and express the best options and be able to come together into agreement. And if it doesn't work out, then that's what we vote independently. So I am looking forward to this. Thank you.
Is it now time for closing statements?
It sure is. It is now time for our closing statements. Each candidate will get 2 minutes for your closing statement, and we will start with you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mary Kate. I want to thank the citizens of District 2 for all their support these last 4 years. It has been a humbling experience. I didn't know so many people were watching all the time. It's very enlightening. I want to pay special thanks to my wife. She has to leave the house every day with a bulletproof vest on. She doesn't like to do that, but she does it anyway. Bless her heart. Anyway, I'm very proud of the fact that we got the water treatment plant done before it went down. You think we'd have had water problems with what we got now. If that treatment plant hadn't been started, we would have really been in trouble. And so, just so people know that, that water treatment plant was put off for 6 months after the first November meeting, and then it was brought back up on June the 8th of 2023. And what people don't understand is if that plant had gone to a bond issue and it had failed, we'd had to wait 3 more years to float another CO or a bond issue. So that was a big problem. So I'm glad we got it done. It was a 4-3 vote when we got that done, and we prevailed, and that was what was good and got that started. I'm very proud of getting Faudree Road done. The expansion, it's almost through. It's still going to be another 6 or 8 months. I know that's a headache for everybody. I've been working very diligently on raising money for the sports complex up at Parks Bell. My good friend Larry Bell was gracious enough to donate 100 acres worth $5 million. And I'm so proud to be working with him again. And he and I have known each other 40 years. And I'm excited about getting that done. And lastly, but I just wanted everybody to know that we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but it's not insurmountable. We just have to have good common sense people and good leadership to get it done.
Thank you very much. And your closing statement, Mrs. Urias.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody that was, the staff for having this event together, and my family and friends, and everybody that's supporting my campaign. For District 2, I'd like to let them know that I want to be consistent to where your solid waste is always consistent and not spotty, to keep our water rates low and give our taxpayers a break. Also, I would implement adding 1 or 2 more water towers in our area for the continued growth that we're experiencing again, help the ODP with cutting positions. And also, our current leadership has been reactive and has slow to meet the needs of our district. We need better leadership that will solve the problems that Odessans are facing. I am committed to working just as hard for you as I have for my family and my business. One of the things that Mr. Thompson mentioned is the sports complex. People would want to know how much money has it raised, or where is it stand as we speak right now. But that's something that he would have to answer. But as of my end, I just want to make a difference. We all want to change. I'm asking for you both to be your representative for Council District number 2. So vote for Nayeli Urias. Early election starts on October 21st. May everybody have a good evening, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And Mrs. Urias, you did say Mr. Thompson's name, so you will get 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
It's a complicated process, but so far the money that we're raising will go into a separate foundation. We have it's a private-public partnership, and we have an outside company financing the project, and based on the revenues that the sports complex generates, won't cost the city of Odessa or the citizens a dime.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you to both of our Odessa City Council District 2 candidates. We do need to take a short station break, but when we come back, we will hear from Odessa at-large candidates. Welcome back. We are coming to you live from Basin PBS in the Anwar Family Studio. I'd like to remind our candidates that the rules, as mentioned at the beginning of our program, still apply. We will now meet our Odessa at-large candidates, Mrs. Denise Swanner.
Good evening.
And Mr. Craig Stoker.
Hello.
And we are getting to our opening statements. We will now begin with those opening statements. I'd like to remind the candidates that you each have 2 minutes, and we will start with you, Mrs. Swanner.
Thank you. My name is Denise Swanner. I was elected in 2022 to serve on your city council. First of all, I would like to thank God. If it wasn't for God, I would not be here, and I would also like to thank my husband, Bobby. I often get attacked unfairly by those desperately to seek power again, who happen to be the very same people who got us in this mess we are in terms of infrastructure, water, sewer, and trash. I believe in Christian principles, limited government, low taxes, protection of innocent life, strong borders. My opponent, however, is a Democrat. He voted in 2008, 2016, 2020 presidential primary, and the voters have a right to know. The truth is, we inherited a mess in 2020 because previous council spent money on lavish projects. Currently, I voted for our water treatment plant, which is 90% finished and within budget and on time. We have allocated $25 million to replace water valves that are 40 to 50 years old. When it comes to trash, we were limping around with trucks that were 15 years old and were designed to last 5 to 7 years. In 2022, we voted for 18 brand new trucks, 9 are on its way, or 9 are actually here, and more are coming. We have allocated $169 million to roads and infrastructure. Roads are always an issue in this growing industry. There is a misconception on the roads. The fact is there are 7 roads that are controlled by Texas Department of Transportation. We also have the lowest tax rate in the last 10 years.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Stoker, your opening statement.
Yes, thank you. My name is Craig Stoker, and I am running for Odessa City Council at large. Thank you to Basin PBS for hosting this evening. To those in the audience who showed up, my mother, sister are here tonight, family. At the beginning of this race, I said that I never really wanted to run against anybody. I wanted to run for Odessa. I see the potential of our city. You ask anybody, poll a room full of people, and what do you love about Odessa? And you'll get a couple of different answers. And one is the people. The second's usually the potential. Everybody has an opportunity in Odessa. I want to encourage that opportunity. I want to give everybody the chance to realize their dream. Odessa has the potential to be great. We've made great strides in our growth. We've had exponential growth in the last 10 years, the last 15 years since I've been home. It's crazy to see how we still try and operate as a city of 70,000 people when, maybe we're 120, maybe we're 130. We're a huge city. We need to accept that. We need to understand that to operate in that way, we've got to accept the responsibility and take on the role as city council should. We need to worry about water, sewer, the infrastructure of our roads, public safety, the things that city council should be worried about. We need to leave the other things alone. We have great leaders in Austin. Brooks Landgraf does an amazing job representing Odessa. Our congressman does an amazing job representing Odessa. Let's leave the issues of social, national politics to them, and let's worry about the business of the city at city council.
Okay, we're going to go to our first question, and we're going to go straight to water. Water is one of the most important issues of this election, but in the last 3 years, the entire city of Odessa has been left completely without water for at least 24 hours on 2 separate occasions. In those years, many neighborhoods have been left without water or under boil water notices countless times. How can the city finally address the water crisis in Odessa? And we'll start with you, Mr. Stoker.
Well, I think the city has understood that we have a problem. You see investments being made finally into our water, taking into account pioneer funds that were given in a deal made in 2014. Those monies are finally being spent in a valve replacement initiative, $25 million. So I applaud them for doing that. It's only been 10 years that deal has been around. So it's kind of a question that's been happening. Why did it take 4 years for that $25 million to be spent? I know that we've got huge issues. I know that this council inherited a mess. I know these things didn't happen overnight. But the solutions didn't need to take a majority of the council to happen. We've got to work together as a council. We've got to combat our differences. Even though we may not have the majority, we have to work together to be leaders for Odessa.
Ms. Swanner, same question.
Yeah, actually, the water has been an issue, and this current council inherited an issue. Water is always going to be an issue. One thing is we are more transparent, and everybody has known about the water issues in the last couple of years. We have allocated the $25 million to work towards the water valves, and we did issue debt 2 years ago with the water treatment plant, and we are moving forward, and we are addressing those water issues right now. And as a whole, we actually let you know ahead of time if your water is going to be down. Unfortunately, we can't control the breaks that are continuing to happen with our 40 to 50 years of age of infrastructure.
Thank you. The city of Odessa has recently lost its bond ratings due to the city's audits not being properly completed, risking higher borrowing costs. In the last 7 months, the city lost nearly its entire finance department. What role does the city council play, and can it play, in ensuring that your voters' money is being used wisely and efficiently? Mrs. Swanner, we're going to start with you.
Well, that's a great question. First of all, when our audit is finished, we will have that AAA bond rating. We currently have a AA bond rating. The good news is we are not issuing debt right now, so we don't need that bond rating at all. And so that's a positive thing. And just moving forward, it's not an issue.
Okay, and Mr. Stoker.
Yeah, so the loss of a bond rating is something that will stay with us forever. We get a note on our account that says we've done it, we messed up. That will stay with us forever. It has the potential to cost us more money when we do have to borrow money. That's not a good thing. You find us losing entire departments, that's attributable to leadership. You had 18 department heads, maybe more, walk out within a year period. That's attributable to leadership. Council should be leaders. We should hire leaders who inspire people to work for the city. We've got great folks work in the city. I've been spending time out visiting different departments and talking to different folks and finding what they need in the city, and it all comes back to leadership. You wouldn't have these problems if you hired a city manager who had appropriate experience running a city of our size. You wouldn't have these problems if you had a finance department who understand municipal financing and how to do an audit. I applaud Kaylee for the job that she's done.
Thank you.
Ms. Swanner.
Can you repeat the question, please?
She answered.
Oh, okay, sorry. My bad. You're next, right?
No.
No. Okay, there is a seemingly high turnover rate among the City of Odessa employees, with some of the firings even costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. To what do you attribute that turnover rate, and is it a positive or a negative for city operations? Mr. Stoker.
You know, you say hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think it's going to cost us millions. We've had a city manager leave, we had a city attorney fired, both, I believe, sued for compensation. We are in a lawsuit now with a assistant city manager who sued for whistleblowing and retaliation. You've just got a morale problem. You see a mass exodus of city employees. Again, 18 department heads in as many months. The talking point seems to be good riddance. They were bad for the city. I don't believe that. You had lots of good talent. You had institutional knowledge that left with those folks. Again, we lost our bond rating. You had the entire finance department walk out. Cindy Muncie was with the city 30 years. That knowledge is important. You could have trained a new person coming in, worked with them 6 months, learned auditing techniques, whatever it may be, and gone on with our lives. Hundreds of thousands, I think it costs us way more than that.
Ms. Swanner.
So to address, we had a problem at City Hall, and we addressed that problem, and it was a trickling effect that affected many employees that didn't want to be under the scrutiny, I guess you would call, of change. What everybody doesn't realize, there is 7 of us on council, and we don't make the decisions on city staff that stay. We only have 5 appointees that actually work for us. And so there was a morale issue, and when those changes were made, people started to leave, and we happily replaced those people with good leadership. And we are in a good place with our city manager, who has saved this city already millions of dollars.
Thank you very much. We do have a question from social media. The question was, initially, do you support the Odessa College bond? Why or why not? We may need to expand on that in a second. Okay, where do you stand on the propositions on the ballot for MCH and the Odessa College bond is the question from social media. Why or why not? Mrs. Swanner, we'll start with you.
So as an individual, I think each of you have to evaluate the situation and what the needs are for our community. And the hospital bond, it will be great for our community. It will lower the taxes for the city of Odessa, and it may or may not increase the taxes for the hospital. But in overall, it's going to help us pay for compensation that we do not have right now for our first responders, and it's going to allow us. Right now, the city of Odessa responds to over $17 million worth of calls within our city, and we only get over $700,000 of that money back to the city. So this bond will allow for some moving parts to happen within our city. I fully support this bond.
And Odessa College?
The Odessa College bond is good. However, I'm still on the fence on whether or not I'm going to support that. That is a lot of money for our taxpayers. And so to ask me personally, I can honestly say I'm not real sure.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Stoker?
So the medical center referendum, I believe it is, vote yay for Prop A, I think is what Mr. Tippin is saying. I agree with that. I believe as a community, we must take care of each other as a community. This allows the medical center district to provide fire and EMS into the parts of the county which are now being served out of the city of Odessa. So if you have a heart attack in West Odessa, it may take you 45 minutes for the ambulance to get there, to get you back to medical center. You're not bringing Mr. Tippin a very good patient. If you build fire stations out there, have fire and EMS out in the county, you're bringing Mr. Tippin a better patient. Again, as a community, I believe we owe that to each other to provide those services. That's what this does. As far as OC, I was on the Vision 2030 committee. I know the things that are in the bond. I say we're getting a completely new OC. If you haven't seen what OC has been up to, they have won awards. They have done great things. We deserve it as a community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stoker. You have both signed the ethics and campaigning form to run for city council. Social media has changed the landscape of campaigning. What are your thoughts on civility in campaigning, and how do you approach this issue? Mr. Stoker?
Well, you know, if anybody's been paying attention to social media, there's been some pretty nasty things going on. The Code of Fair Campaigning includes, I believe, at least one provision that says you're going to say something about it. Put it down. Not good. No thanks. If you've seen mine even today, please don't say those things. No personal attacks. Go after the issues. Go after their platform. Stay away from personal. Stay away from family. The end. That's what I signed. That's what I meant. And that's what I've done. Can't say the same. I've been attacked personally. I've had friends attacked. Mr. Hendrick and his family have been attacked. The church has been attacked. It's too far. I don't know where you draw the line, but that is too far. Nobody gets to tell somebody else how to be a good Christian, and that is not it.
Ms. Swanner?
So interesting, you should bring this up. Social media is the devil's advocate, actually. I've been trolled for 4 years now, and so I try not to pay attention. The Fair Ethics campaign is out there. I'm not sure exactly when he says we all signed up for it. You know, we all sign, saying that we're going to run a campaign, but we can't control other people's actions. You know, there's a myth out there that I've bugged City Hall. It's so funny that they give me that kind of power. You know, I've been called the squad, which is also funny. It takes more than, if you can count, there's 4 in a squad. We could go on and on about the social media attacks. They attack all of us unfairly. And at the end of the day, you just have to hang your head high and know what your beliefs are. And my belief, I answer to the Lord Jesus Christ, and that's the only one I have to answer to.
Transparency, whether it be with the public, the media, your fellow council members, is important for elected officials to communicate, especially with their constituents on where their dollars are going. How would you approach transparency if elected or re-elected? Mrs. Swanner, we'll start with you.
Well, that's a great question. According to some, we're not transparent. I'm as transparent as I can be on the dais, in public, in person. We just signed a contract which is heavily attacked with the TGAA, which calls for higher transparency. Whether I'm elected or not elected, it holds all elected officials in our city and our departments for transparency. It's accountability and ethics, and it is something that will move on as a legacy for our city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stoker.
You know, one of the things in that TGAA contract is an audit. Still working on that. I think transparency starts with getting the city out of the news business. Mary Kate, you work in the news business, and it's my understanding it's insanely hard to get any information out of the city of Odessa. I've encountered this myself. Even when we were filing and running for office, they had trouble getting a list of candidates from the city secretary's office. Why not be open and honest about who's even running for office. I think in order to be transparent, you have to operate like we do at Meals on Wheels. Come see me. The books are open. The records are open. We're a public nonprofit. I file a 990. It's all there to see. I'm not hiding anything. Why would I? I'm accountable to the public. I'm accountable to my donors, and I want to be the same when I'm elected to city council. You've got to be open. You've got to be transparent.
The City Council has to work with many different entities to ensure that Odessa runs smoothly. How do you plan to work together with various departments of the city and county employees to improve Odessa? Mr. Stoker.
Well, again, I've spent several weeks visiting with different city staffs, different departments. I can't figure out if there's a time that they do meet with each other, if there's a time that they do meet with city management. I know that there's a big talking point that, hey, we had a great meeting with ODC once, the county once. I want to bring those back. I think quarterly, all the taxing entities need to be together. OC, Medical Center, the county, the city, ECISD. Talk about what we're doing. If we're not out there collaborating together, we're duplicating. You find that with what we do in the nonprofit world. If we're not talking about what we do helping each other, we're all going to start, getting into each other's worlds. So I want to see a meaningful discussion where the city departments are coming together, weekly. Why not? Let's talk to the department heads. Let's get together with city management. Let's have a meaningful report to council, and let's move forward from there.
Ms. Swanner.
That's a great question. We actually already do that. We do meet with other entities to move forward on what's best for our city. We do have meetings with staff on a constant basis. I know our city manager meets weekly with the department heads with their vision and their goals, and then they bring it to us, and we as a council tackle what we can.
Thank you very much.
So do I get a follow-up question?
She did not directly implicate you, and so you do not get a rebuttal. Faith has been mentioned by both of you tonight. Do you think religion should play a role in campaigning? And what role does religion play on the city council, and how should those things be separated? Mrs. Swanner, we'll start with you.
That's a great question. Absolutely, it should play a role. Nowhere does it say separation of church and state. It's just all in how people perceive that. I believe that my moral compass comes to the dais when I make decisions, and so absolutely, I believe that plays a vital role. I believe that God is first, and actually I was going to quote a scripture earlier that Matthew 22:14 state, many are called but few are chosen. And when the Lord calls you to do something, you step up and you do what he says.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stoker.
Faith is something personal. It is something that we must choose for ourselves. And my belief is practicing your faith quietly is the best example. Be the best living example of the Bible you can be. And I try to do that every day by feeding folks who can't provide for themselves, the homebound, elderly, the disabled. My work with the food bank, feeding those who couldn't provide for themselves. I try to be that living example of the Bible. I work with faith leaders in the community. I work with different churches and pantries to get our mission done at Meals on Wheels. You find the issues coming to the city, those are nonpartisan. Those are things that should have water, sewer, public safety. Those things are not Democrat, they are not Republican. I understand having a moral compass and a faith aspect to it, and I do believe that...
Thank you. It is now time for our closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing statement, and we will start with you, Mrs. Swanner.
So first of all, I would like to thank you, PBS, for hosting this debate. I also ask for your vote as we have good things coming in the pipeline. The Bass Pro is coming, the new sports complex is on its way, and many other things. Amazing things are happening, and don't let the detractors run down our city. Contrary to what our critics would lead you to believe, there are 7 of us on council that serve and make decisions for our city. It is very rare that our council as a whole disagrees. Our voting record can prove that. I would implore the voters to ask, what is my opponent going to do that I haven't already been trying to do, addressed, or accomplished? I ask for your vote. Early voting starts October 21st, and Election Day is November 5th. You can reach me on my website, votedeniseswanner.com. Also, I would like to say we have so many accomplishments that our local newspaper will not put out there. We have reduced the size of government. We've done smart outsourcing. Gosh, there's so many. We stood up for medical practices and personal freedom. We stood up against government overreach, higher ethics and transparency, effective budget. We went to a zero-based budgeting, mineral rights, responsible for employment and their budgets, and the list goes on and on. And we are solving our water issues, so I would just implore you to do your homework, know who you are voting for, know what policies that they stand for. Policies are very important, and when somebody says that we don't bring that to the dais, that is untrue. Our moral compass and all of our decisions that we make, we bring to the dais.
And your closing statement, Mr. Craig Stoker.
Yeah, the question, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to get to work. I'm not going to wait until 6 months before an election to have results presented to the community. You know, I appreciate the work that this council has done. I've said it a couple of times that, you know, they have accomplished some things. There are things that have been done in this council that have needed to be done. But again, why did it take so long? Why has a talking point been, we've only had the majority 2 years? I don't understand why leadership needs a majority. You're up there representing people in your town. You should understand what the issues are. You should understand how to work with others to get those things accomplished. Very simple things: water, trash, public safety. Our police department is 30 to 60 members short. How do we fix that? We've got to work on morale. We've got to work on pay. We've got to work on things that the city council can fix. You've heard tonight from other sections, you know, we've got a fund balance. The tax decrease we received this year, which instead of being benevolent was kind of forced upon us, had to decrease it, but it's going to raise an extra $275 million. Why can't we use that as a raise? We've got $500 million in the bank somewhere. Why can't we use that as a raise? We had the opportunity. We have the potential. It is time to invest in Odessa. It is time to invest in our citizens. It's time to make Odessa the place we all know it can be, the place we deserve, the place we want to live. I love Odessa. I'm from Odessa, and I want to give it that potential. I want to be the person to represent you. Thank you.
With that, we conclude tonight's debate. I would like to thank all of our candidates for participating in this year's Odessa City Council Districts 1, 2, and at-large debates. Make sure to join us tomorrow night for the Odessa Mayor's debate, and we urge all registered voters to cast your ballots. Early voting begins on October the 21st and continues through Friday, November the 1st. You can check with your voting office for polling stations. We'd also like to thank the Elizabeth Yeager family and the Anwar family for their continued support of Basin PBS. Programs like this are possible because of you, our members, and our viewers. If you're not a member and you want to become one, please visit basinpbs.org for details. I'd also like to thank the PBS board, staff, and crew for tonight's program. I'm Becky Ferguson, and on behalf of Basin PBS and my co-moderator, Mary Kate Hamilton, with First Alert 7, thank you and good night.